Welcome to our daily devotions. We're glad that you're here with us. As a reminder, today is Wednesday, which means our church and multiple other churches in the area are banding together to fast and to pray for our nation. So if you want more information about that or what we're doing, I will link a video in the description below that will talk more about that. But today I want us to take a look at Psalm 51, verses 1 and 2, and then verse 7. And it says this: "Have mercy on me, O God, because of your unfailing love. Because of your great compassion, blot out the stain of my sins. Wash me clean from my guilt. Purify me from my sin. Purify me from my sins, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow." And the reason why I wanted to read those verses today, and the thing that stands out to me so much about those verses, is that is actually David speaking after he gets called out for all the things that he did with Bathsheba. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about with the stuff that David did with Bathsheba, look it up and check out that story. But it is some of the probably grosser and more vile things that we find in Scripture. But the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because what David does is something I think we all really struggle with. And what happens is David deals with the consequences of his sins, but then he does something that I think a lot of us struggle to do, and that is that he moves on. He doesn't allow his sins and his struggles, no matter how vile and how bad they were, he does not allow those to define him. He moves on and still gets called a man after God's own heart. And I know for myself, and I think maybe for some of you, there's a lot we can learn from David. I know for myself, I still think of dumb things or sins that I struggled with years ago and sometimes even decades ago. And I allow those to tell me that I'm not qualified for certain things that God might be putting in my life or certain opportunities. And I look at that and I go, I have a lot to learn from David, and I think we all might have the same. So what I wanted to remind us all is, if you are a child of God, if you have accepted Christ's forgiveness and you chose to follow him, then you are fully and completely forgiven. It is not about the sins of your past, and that's what we learned from David. No matter how gross or how vile or how messed up those things were, that's not what it's about. It's about God's mercy and God's love in the first place. And so because of that, I wanted to remind all of us, if you are a child of God, that shame and that guilt does not have to come with us. I think often we think of it as like we're carrying this heavy baggage, and forgiveness just takes the load and lightens it. It just removes some of the stuff. But the truth is, God comes and just takes the load completely out of your hands. It's not just lighter, it's completely removed. You are fully and entirely and completely forgiven. You are made pure. And if this is something you struggle with, what I would ask you to do is, if you have those thoughts that creep back into your mind, write them down. And then if you want to take a next step and really get rid of them, share them with your community group or share them with someone else. But at the very least, write them down. And when those things that creep in that tell you you're not qualified, or you're not fully forgiven, or you don't measure up, or that's just those issues from the past that tell you things that aren't the truth of God, remind yourself what Psalm 51 says. Because of God's mercy and because of his unfailing love, you have been cleansed. You are pure.